Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Glassman's World. So, we're just going to do a quick little short video here, make a little bit of glass, and I wanted to talk about the new food pyramid that's been introduced, and also I wanted to talk about my regiment here that I've been doing for years now, and then I kind of just stepped away from doing it. Haven't been doing it in a while, but this is basically like, I don't know, a shot. I don't know how much I put in the bottom, but uh, poured some apple cider vinegar in the bottom, added some honey, and then some hot water, and that's it. And just, I don't even think I even stirred it up, so all that honey and everything's still on the bottom. And this is a really good cleanser. This really helps out with getting rid of like any sort of parasites, and just it. Also, what I've learned is that using the apple cider vinegar daily will help to remove your cravings from sweets and sugars and things like that. And I think that's been my biggest problem lately, is that I have just been consuming so many sweets ever since like Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I think that happens to all of us every year. So let me just drink some of this here. This is not something that everyone can really handle, but I would suggest trying it out, drinking it if you can. It really does help. So for this year, new year, I want to just get back into my old regiment of just having this daily cleanse where I'm using the apple cider vinegar to just cleanse out my body, my digestive system, my stomach, and getting my fila, all the little hairs that are within my intestines, and getting those back to a really good health and a good state. And then also adding in things like yogurts, really good probiotic yogurts, not any of that yo plate stuff or any of the, none of that weird stuff that's got all the sweetness and all the fruit and all the sugars in it, but more of the plain, it's got the cream on top yogurts and things like that. They're really good ones. All right, so let's get started here. I wanted to show you though, before we get started, what the food pyramid looks like, because it's completely different and been flipped upside down, which is kind of interesting. So let's move over here real quick. This is what the food pyramid looks like, guys. And as you can see, hold on a second. I'm going to move this and tighten this up some. Is it not going to tighten up? What the heck? It should tighten up. And have issues now? Uh-oh. Did we lose our whole tightener system here? Did it break on us? No, I hope not. Okay, well, there we go. So this is what it looks like, guys. And what it seems to be is have a lot more proteins, and also adding in the vegetables and the fruits as the biggest portion of our diets, with whole grains at the very bottom. And I think this is excellent. Now, when it comes to protein, like they have a photo of a big old piece of steak, you don't have to eat red meat. And a lot of people are concerned about the whole red meat thing. And some people need the red meat and they need the iron. Some people are anemic and they really need it. And some people don't. And sometimes it all depends on your blood type. And so there's a way of where you can learn how to eat by your blood type, right? So some people might be able to handle some foods and some people can't. But I think this is really excellent. And I guess what they're saying is that the message is clear: eat real foods. So that's what we're being told, is to eat real foods, to quit eating a bunch of processed foods and GMO foods and just a lot of crap that we don't need. which I strongly recommend. I think we should try to get to a more natural foods diet. Organic is just a label. So when you say organic, that just means that they paid a lot of money to be considered organic. But if you just buy locally from your local farms and farmers and different gardens and different crops nearby, you can find out whether they're using herbicides, pesticides, whether they're using just natural herbicides and pesticides and enzymes and things like that to really keep all the insects and the bugs and all the stuff at bay. So you can eat really healthy by supporting local and keeping your money in the local economy, which is the best thing to do. Because when you purchase things from the stores, all that food is coming from other places from different regions, and we're continuously just allowing for that money to get pumped into certain places in the nation instead of distributing the wealth amongst every state and amongst all the farmers equally, instead of just like in one specific spot, and for one specific corporation, right? So I strongly recommend eating a ton of fruits and vegetables and eating as much protein as you possibly can. And now there's a lot of different ways that you can get protein in without having to eat a lot of meats and stuff like that. Uh-oh, hold on one second, guys. We may lose you. All right, you guys, sorry about that. So I'll have to get going here pretty much after this. But like I was saying, I think it's really important to get all of the fruits and vegetables that you possibly can. There's a lot of foods, a lot of greens, a lot of green foods that really help with, they have a lot of cancer fighting properties and components within them. Not saying that they are cures or nothing like that. I'm just saying that, the old saying, food is thy medicine, that the proper foods that we eat are definitely going to make us more healthier compared to eating things that are like full of GMOs, full of processed foods, a lot of the boxed foods and the canned goods. You want to stay away from those and try to eat more of the natural foods. So if you're going to eat fruits and vegetables, you want to stay away from the processed ones that are in the cans. You don't want to get a bunch of fruit that's just been sitting in a bunch of syrup water, right? A bunch of sugar water, because they preserve it with sugar and and with syrups. So you definitely don't want to go that route all the time and eating those kind of foods. And those foods also, you got to remember that they're within an aluminum can. They may be covered with a plastic liner to protect the food from the aluminum, but then you're getting all that plastic lining on it. And that also includes soda cans, guys. So anytime you're drinking sodas, it has a lot of microplastics that are all within. And so you really want to understand these things. Food is thy medicine. Know what you're eating. Understand what you're putting into your body. And I think that this change it's a really big change, and it's extremely important. Another thing that they were mentioning was like getting away from all the processed foods and not adding in sugars. So in the pyramid, there is no sugars. All it is protein, dairy, and healthy fats, vegetables and fruits, and whole grains. There's no sugars. They should have honey in there. Honey is a superfood and is extremely important. And as long as you're getting local harvested honey, then you should be doing good, because local honey is better for you and for your health and for your allergies and local allergies and things like that. So getting local honey, it helps to keep the money locally in the economy, and it helps to support your locals, as well as just you're protecting yourself a lot better by getting that the honey to help with your natural immunity and your immune system. Drinking the apple cider vinegar and the honey is really good for the immune system and cleansing your body. Proteins. So you don't have to just eat a bunch of red meats. You can get a lot of proteins from fish and from poultry, from chicken. And a lot of people, uh, a lot of us Mexicans and natives and new Mexicans and those who've grown up with different upbringings and stuff. You know, we grew up on tacos and burritos and beans and rice and squash and corn and all those kind of foods. And and I can't say I per se grew up on any of that. Maybe getting some beans and rice, but really, you know, I was eating a lot of processed foods as a child and eating a lot of crap and a lot of the name brand cereals and all of the really bad stuff, you know. And so I never learned how to eat properly until my oldest child became diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic at the age of 9 years old, which then I had to learn how to read labels and learn about carbohydrates and learn about all kinds of things and being able to know about high protein, low carb diets and basically learning that food is thy medicine. And I've always heard about that, food is thy medicine, but I never really took it seriously, you know, and I was a young father, and so, you know, I was only about maybe 20 to something, pushing my 30s, around the time that my child was diagnosed. And so that, you know, that's kind of later on in life to learn about those things. And I never had my parents teach me about nutrition and dietary information and anything like that, you know. We grew up poor and we grew up eating whatever we could get, you know. Sometimes we'd have to go. I was homeless for a while. We had to live in shelters and we had to eat at different food banks and different places like Salvation Army, where they would just serve some sort of burritos for us to get, you know. And I don't even remember what they were. They could have been like bean and cheese or some sort of simple burritos, you know. And so I never grew up in the best ways. You know, when I was eating peanut butter, we probably ate like all the Peter Pan and the Skippy and the Jiffy peanut butter, all of that stuff, you know. And I didn't learn that, oh, you can get peanut butter just straight up crushed, right? And peanut butter is an extremely high protein food. So you can get a lot of protein from eating a lot of peanut butter. When I was 5 years old, I learned how to make my own peanut butter toast in a broiler. And so I've been eating peanut butter my whole life, and I get down on peanut butter. I like it. I add it to my oatmeal in the morning, so I add a little bit of extra protein in my oatmeal with the peanut butter, and then add the natural honey instead of adding sugar. The only time we ever use sugar is for baking, and sometimes when baking we'll use maple syrup or agave syrup. Rarely we'll use honey because we tend to use honey more for like our teas and things like that. But another thing is like making beans. You know, beans, squash, corn, beans, and squash is one of the staples that down in Mexico and like, you know, as the Aztecs, the Mexicas, the Mayans, they lived and survived off of the Three Sisters diet, which was corn, beans, and squash, right? So those are some of the more highly complex carbohydrates and protein foods that we can eat, and so when you mix those together, it's a lot better for you. But other foods that are made in India are the lentils, the dal and rice, making the khichdi. Those types of foods are really good and healthy for you as well. So it's really important to learn that you don't have to always eat meat, that there's proteins like the urad dal, urad. And the urad doll, you are not supposed to eat that more than 3 or 4 times per week, or else you will have a protein overload in, I think, your liver or your kidneys, or both. And your body can't really process the proteins from the urad doll, and because it's high in protein. And I think it's something like 12 or 13 grams um, per serving or something like that. So it's, really, really strong. It's like, per serving of some little bit of dal is like the same amount of a big old steak. So you don't have to eat a steak. Some people are like concerned that this might be misleading people to believe that they have to eat a whole bunch of sacred cows and a lot of meat and a lot of red meat. I believe that you can eat fish because fish has the essential fatty acids that we need, which is extremely important for our immune systems and for our skin, for our organs, for our bodies to function properly, for our mind, brain clarity and function, things like that, for having memory and concentration. The essential fatty acids, the omega 3s, the omega 6s, and the omega 9s, the essential fatty acids, which you can find in hemp seed. They've been talking about getting away from seed oils, but one of the things is utilizing the healthy fats. So using the oils that are good for you. They're talking about getting away from seed oils, but avocado seed oil is good for you. Hemp seed oil is good for you. And coconut oil, which I believe is a seed, right? Comes from the coconut seed. That is also good for you. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can eat. Also, when you're eating whole grains, make sure that you're getting the 100% whole grain wheat, whole grain breads. The ones that come with like 9 grains, 12 grains, 21 grains. The ones that have all the seeds in them. Because the seeds have all the oils and the essential fatty acids that we need to help us to promote good health and good living. So with that being said, I got to get going. My daughter's actually not feeling well today, and she called me to pick her up from school. So I'm going to finish this, and I told her I just needed to finish that top real quick, and then I'm going to be on my way. So you guys do the best you can for this year with eating as best as you properly can. One of the things that they say is the message is clear: eat real food. That's what Kennedy said, right? And the new guidelines are advocating consuming a variety of protein foods from animal sources, including eggs, poultry, seafood, and red meat, as well as a variety of plant source protein foods, including beans, peas, lentils, legumes, nuts, seeds, and soy. And also we should bring in hemp to there as well, the dal. So also full fat dairy with no added sugars. Dairy is an excellent source of protein, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals. And then one other thing that I think was really, really good was and they were talking about how for decades we've been fed a corporate food pyramid that has had a myopic focus on demonizing natural, healthy, saturated fats, telling you not to eat eggs and steak, and ignoring a giant blind spot: refined carbohydrates, added sugar, and ultra-processed foods. So, and then another thing that they mentioned was staying away from the sugars, the highly processed foods, the sugar-sweetened beverages, the excess sodium. But we do need salt, you guys. We do need to make sure that we're getting the proper saline in our bodies, because we are like 60 to 90% water, depending on how much water you consume and how much you burn off. And so you want to always make sure that you're bringing in the electrolytes, the saline waters into your body. So you do need salts, but make sure you're getting the proper salts and staying away from that white table salt that's bleached, right? And then another thing that they mentioned was eating a variety of colorful, nutrient-dense vegetables and fruits. and to eat whole vegetables and fruits in their original form. Eating them raw instead of cooking is what they're saying. They're. I love this new way of how they're asking us to eat. Food is thy medicine, and if we eat these proper ways, I think it's important. Another thing that they stated was to they used to have alcohol on the pyramid, saying that adults could consume up to I think two glasses of wine or beer or alcohol per day, and it would be fine and also good for your health and your heart health. But you know what you really need is just you need the grapes, not the wine. And maybe the fermentation that the beer can provide. So drinking things like apple cider vinegar and having things like drinking kombucha rather than alcohol, you get the fermentation. Eating foods that are fermented, like the cheeses and the yogurts and things like that. Getting fermented foods like kimchi, getting into kimchi and coleslaw and things like that, you know? Things that are just a little bit different for you and better. Eating cabbage is very good for you. So just learn about different foods, better foods for you. I really like this new pyramid, and it comes in right after they changed a lot of the what we consider the regulated what's necessary to go to school for students. The vaccination list has been completely altered and changed, and 5 or 6 have been removed, including the flu and the COVID shot. So those are some big things that have happened recently. I still think we need to address the water, the fluoride in our water supplies, the chemtrails that are up above us in our skies that are just dropping down into our water supplies and onto all of our organic and natural foods. With that being said, I got to let you guys go because I'm in a hurry. You guys have a wonderful day. Water is life, food is thy medicine. And I'll see you guys soon. What's going on? Can I finish this? Like, where's the X? I can't X out of this. Even going still. Alright, I don't know. You sure you want to stop streaming? Yes. Alright, well, there's the food.